Hi, welcome to the Fantasy Football Clown Show. I'm your host, Ed Smith. Today we're going to take a look at a team 12-man, 2 Superflex Dynasty League. And when we look at this league with 3 quarterbacks starting in a 12-team league, it has some little different scoring as well to consider beyond having the 3 quarterbacks, which are going to deeply value the quarterbacks. It's got 2-point PPR and 3-point PPR for the tight end. So the flex spots do become valuable for the tight end as they're, yes, a 50% increase, but when you start getting to 3 points PPR, the 3 for 30 guy becomes a 12-point tight end. And so even if you go 5 for 50 on a receiver, which is when you're starting to get deep into the receiver class with 3 starting, it's harder to get that 5 for 50 or that 3 for 50. Really is, I guess, the receiver room. You're only looking at 11 points, so you actually have less points with the 3 for 50 receiver. That third receiver on a team, and so really it does slant to the tight ends here. For those flex spots. So didn't realize that until I did this video, to be honest. So definitely got to rework this team a little bit. So my league mates that watch this will probably get a little bit of a head start of what I'm trying to accomplish here, but that's okay because we're just trying to get better and really analyze the team and make myself better as well as we go. And so with this, we have 1 quarterback starting, 2 Superflex, 3 running back, 3 receiver, 1 tight end, 2 flex for the 12 starting spots, and then 12 bench, 5 taxi, and 5 IR. And so we're going to really put the emphasis on the quarterback in this kind of an environment. And so here this was an orphan that I took over right before the 2021 rookie draft. So it's not a team I drafted. So we're just kind of working it through. And so it probably has some players that you don't recognize, but then some that you do, and just on my teams because of who they are and what they are. It does start 3 running backs, so that does put a little value on the running backs. I mean, now we're starting 36 every week, so there's a lot of ways to build this kind of a team, and I like that because that kind of adds to the skill level with so many starting players here. So the quarterbacks, we have Dak Prescott and Mayfield, Mac Jones, Goff, and then we have Locke, Love, Ellinger, and Wolford. So got some back end guys that may or may not start, but we do start with the season with 4 definite starters. As long as we believe Goff will get the starting nod, and Mayfield's continue to be a starter. So we're lighter than I'd like, but in a 3 quarterback starting league to have 4, it's pretty good. And we have a couple guys like Drew Lock or Jordan Love, and even maybe to a smaller degree Ellinger, that have the possibility of starting, and then we have the prime handcuff for Matt Stafford and Wolford. And so, we really do have a decent quarterback room here with the 8 guys that we trot out on the bench. And so I would expect that you won't see any of those leave my team as the course of the year goes. We'll look to make roster moves other places and rebalance the roster to build what we're trying to build, especially when you start to look at the draft picks that we have. Looking at the running back room, very light. What the part of the room that I'm not happy with, and we'll balance that with where we want this team to finish. It finished in the 10 spot last year, so we need to overcome 4 spots to get to the playoffs. And we're gonna take what the draft gives us. We're gonna draft this a little different. Because what we do know that with 3 quarterbacks starting, that creating that quarterback monopoly is an important piece, so expect that that'll happen. And even if that means that we don't get that bell cow running back, that's okay. We're going to either force somebody to trade up with us or to get the quarterback, or we're going to take quarterbacks until people force us not to. And my thinking is that if we can have, if right now we have 4 and we can take that number to 7 or 8 starting quarterbacks in a league this size, we're going to be able to eliminate what other people can do in those kind of environments. So looking at the running back room, we have Keyshawn Vaughn, Cordell Patterson, Damian Harris, Royce Freeman, DJ Dallas, Deion Jackson, Herbert, and Sargent. Now you guys that know me know we always have Deion Jackson and Herbert and Sargent. So I'm not going to really get into the whys on those. The handcuffing of Jonathan Taylor and why that makes sense with Deion Jackson, and in case he ever does get injured, we actually have the prime handcuff in the NFL, I believe, and it's one that not very many people talk about, and so we sort of have that in place, and Herbert, we think he might, get some more with a new coaching staff. He might get some more touches in that environment, watching the people that they left go. Mekhi Sargent did get re-signed by the Jaguars when they dropped Carlos Hyde, so we're pretty excited about maybe his prospects, and DJ Dallas under contract in Seattle when very few guys are under contract there. And Royce Freeman, he was good at one time. Now maybe he's not good anymore, but he's on the Texans squad that if he gets a chance, we just never know. So we got a lot of that kind of guys, like Keyshawn Vaughn, the same thing. If he gets a chance, we just don't know. Maybe it'll be his time. Cordell Patterson, he's a Rubik's Cube guy, and getting older, but right now he's filling out a spot. We're going to see what happens with it. And then Damian Harris is the probably featured back in New England, but that doesn't mean much because Ramondre Stevens, we understand he's going to share those carries, and they might bring in a third guy to share carries. So we don't really know what he is, and we're okay with that. So understanding that this running back room, probably pretty good shot that it won't start the year looking like this. And if it does, then we probably are punting the year and working for next year, when I really, in the third year of operation of a team, is when I really try to win. So if we can win quicker, we don't refuse that win, but it's where we're going to really hit hard. And then looking at the receiver room, I'm actually kind of pleased with where the receiver room is with age and quality, because we start three. We have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Darnell Mooney, and Deebo Samuel. I think that those three are just fine. Very content with those three. We'll take receivers in the draft if they're afforded to us, and I think we're picking in the spots where we're going to get receivers that are quality to probably fill out those flex spots as well. Because when we go to Quez Watkins and Mikael Hardman and Freddie Swain and De'Anami Brown, we think that they're all dart throws, and they're guys that maybe can, but maybe won't. And so, we think the more of those kind of guys we have, the better off we can see what we can pull two out of there is what the goal is, and then offset injuries that happen as well with those guys there. And at tight end, we have Mark Andrews, and he's our starter, and we like him a lot. And then Harrison Bryant, we like probably more than the NFL likes, apparently. So, and everybody else in the fantasy world as well. So, just kind of, he's our stash, if you will. And so we're just kind of waiting for him to be. Looking at the draft picks, and this is where this league gets very interesting. We start in the first round with the first pick, the third pick, the sixth pick, the 11th pick, and the 12th pick. So 5 of the top 12. 5 first-round draft picks, and then we also move on to the second round where we have the 15, the 18, the 20, the 23rd. So we start adding that up. That's 9 of the top 25 picks, and then we have the 27, the 35, the 36 in the third round, and the 39, the 41, and the 51 in the fifth round. But so let's take off the fourth and the fifth round. Those third rounds, that 27, 35, 36, I script out the first 30 players, and in a 3 quarterback league, predominantly what this is, I'll easily be able to get there. I do believe that with all those picks, so we have 9 plus 3 is 12. Out of those 12 picks in the top 36, 1/3 of the draft is our picks, and I believe I'll get 12 top 30 players on my draft board, because there'll be some people that take stuff that isn't in my top 30 in those first picks once we get into those second and third rounds, and where it's not quite as scripted, people will start to reach for their guys, and maybe my guys are different than the status quo anyway. And so I do expect that I'll get 12 top 30 picks on my draft board in this format. And so why that's important is that I'll be able to reshape a couple things. I believe I'll be able to reshape. I'll get my couple flexes for the wide receiver. I'll be able to pick up some darts in the tight end room to remake the team into a little bit more tight end friendly. I'll be able to monopolize the quarterback room or trade and get more draft capital for future years. If somebody wants to step up and take the best quarterback on the board with the first pick, and I anticipate that they'll probably take the running back haul with the second pick, which I don't have, and that's fine. And yeah, I'd love to have running backs, but I'll take another quarterback with the third pick, and then that kind of forces somebody to make a decision in the fourth and the fifth pick if they take quarterbacks there for the third and the fourth quarterback off the board, then that leaves me with the top receiver or the second best running back at that point. And if they take those two players, then that gives me a third quarterback off the board. I have the top three quarterbacks with the first three and six picks. So it really kind of doesn't matter to me how it's played. I feel like I'm going to be able to remake the team. And if I get the top three quarterbacks in the draft, that's going to just create, in a three quarterback league, it's going to create a frenzy where somebody's going to feel forced to kind of come up and get to those spots. And maybe there'll be somebody. I'm also aware that maybe somebody trades up into the fourth or fifth spot because I'm asking too much of a premium for my pick at the sixth spot, and they can get that a little cheaper from one of my league mates, and that's okay too, because that still forces the value of that second best running back or first receiver off the board, Treylon Burks off the board to me at 6. It just kind of forced that by somebody making an aggressive trade. And so, I still hold that even if somebody trades up and gets a quarterback. So what I do is I create, some movement around the draft board, and I may not do anything except for just take my picks, but it's going to create a frenzy that I can. And what we know is that the 11 and 12 spot, those are receiver spots. So, probably going to get receivers there, and that's fine, or some running backs there, depending on how the board falls. And that's just going to add to those. That's going to, add to the receiver room. Now, remember, I feel like I have 3 starters right now. So without injury, I have all three of my receiver starters. So if I add 2, and one of the 2 is Justin Jefferson and Jalen Reagor, let's just say, to pick 2. One's good, one's bad. That's a pretty good flex. That's the first flex. And then, with the 4 second-round picks, if I pop 4 more receivers, I'm probably going to get one of 4. I mean, even if it's Mims, Higgins, Pittman, and just Claypool, one of the 4 is okay from that draft in the second round. Those were all second-round receivers that year. Ayuk was in there too. So, whatever the 4 are, I'm taking those guys there, just banging them out, and I'm probably going to be able to pull at least 1 flex and 2 flex out of those positions there after I've already controlled the front half of the draft. Now, with that, I would obviously be a little bit light on the running back position, but we'll just patiently wait. Remember, we had those 3 more quarterbacks. Somebody's either going to do one of 2 things. They're going to either come for a quarterback because they can't win without him, and I'll be able to get my 2 running backs that I want, or I'll just wait, and I'll wait till next year with the draft capital I have next year and just draft the running backs at that point. So, and then it means they're young and ready to roll, and in a class where we expect the running backs to be good. So it really doesn't matter how we roll. It's going to create this frenzy, if you will, with this kind of environment. I'm actually really excited. This may be my most excited draft to be in. It's a team I took over that wasn't wonderful, and I guess I feel like I've made it into something and made the right trades and acquired the right picks and the right draft capital, and it finished in the right spots to really control the way this whole thing comes out. And so I'm really excited for the outcome and the breakdown of after the draft to see how predictive I was, even though my league mates might even watch this and know exactly what I'm going to do. I guess I feel like it's at a point where it's hard to stop what's going to happen here because everything's already set. And so, I'm just going to play the board, and it really doesn't make any difference how the other 11 people play. Really, I'm going to play out the hand exactly. There's no bluffing here in this one. So that's kind of fun, that I can just play it out however it rolls. And, I'm in a position of power here with this team. So excited for that. Glad you guys joined me. Hit that like button. Let me know in the comments. Tell me that I'm wrong. I mean, I've been wrong before, but tell me if you think this team either wins 2022 or 2023, depending on what happens in the draft, and we'll be able to update that. Tell me if the philosophy works or the blueprint works, and this is kind of a great example of the blueprint. And then hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when these videos drop, and we'll look forward to coming back to you tomorrow with another edition of Fantasy Football Clown Show. Of course, I'm your host, Ed Smith, and we'll have a new team tomorrow.